You're listening to a Time Machine podcast. Old Movie Time Machine. An adventure through time and or space.
Dishes are done, man.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Old Movie Time Machine. Oops, all 90s. This is a show in which we are using color motion picture films made in the 1990s in the old US of A for the most part. But maybe not always, but just definitely 90s movies. And we're using them as windows into the past. We're asking ourselves critical, vital questions such as these people we're looking at. Who are they? How are they treating each other? What decisions are they making and why? And also the most important part, which is what are they wearing and what do their living rooms look like? And then at the end of the show, we decide whether or not we want to keep this movie in the canon of all movies. Do we keep watching this thing? Is the ultimate question.
Sorry.
It's okay. The critical issue here, aside from the critical, vital, ultimate question, which is, do we keep watching this thing, is also the fact that this is not really a show about movies so much. It's a show about time. We're really doing a deep cultural study of certain eras. You know, we did the Cold War. It's done. We did it. We did almost everything. That's not true at all.
We did a lot.
They're all kind of the same at a certain point, right? Mm-hmm. So we are now journeying through the 1990s. We've done 1991. We've done some 1998. Today we're going to the glorious, really kind of a banner year, 1995. But also, your host, Jay-Z, joined here as ever by Shrishma Naik.
Hello.
And my sister and yours, Carolyn Naoroz.
Hey there.
I am ceding my position as host of this show because I believe in overthrowing the patriarchy, handing it right over to the matriarchy, brought to you today by the letter Shrishy Boo. Take it away, Shrishma Naik.
Hello, Justin. Thank you for relinquishing the reins of the patriarchy.
So happy to do it.
I'm really excited to talk about this movie because I picked it.
Yeah, you did.
Did you guys like it? It's a great one.
Yeah.
I think I did watch it like maybe 3 times leading up to today because...
Tell the people at home what we're watching.
Oh, yeah. We are watching 1995's While You Were Sleeping.
While You Were Sleeping. Hey, by the way, I would just like to apologize for bossing you there, bossing the matriarchy to tell the people. That's
okay. I appreciate your prompts because sometimes I get carried away. Do
we have that dialogue where that's a comfortable interaction? Like the people at home need to know that we can talk to each other that way.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes. I appreciate when Jay-Z reminds me why we're here. So there's that.
We're all here for a reason, Shrishma. I mean, it's a wider philosophical discussion, but not one for this episode.
No, absolutely.
So tell us all about it.
But for today's movie, we caught up with Sandra Bullock of 1995. Peak Sandra Bullock, I want to say. Maybe.
Is this early Sandra Bullock? I feel like...
This was the earliest that I remember her.
Me too, I would say.
You definitely feel like this is early Sandy.
It's gotta be early.
Yeah, I feel it was early.
She is so cute.
Mr. Bill Pullman, who I had a big crush on because of this movie. And I didn't know this guy's name until I looked it up. But I knew he was a Peter something. He played the character of Peter Callahan, but his real name is Peter Gallagher. Okay. AKA Sandy Cohen. Attorney at law from the OC, which is a very 2000s show. Okay. We're not in that decade, but that's where I know him the most from. That's why I love Peter Gallagher, is because he plays.
Is he also not Mr. Big from Sex and the City with the eyebrows?
No, that's a different guy, right? That's a different guy.
That's a different guy. Mr. Big is a different guy.
It?
This I know for sure. But I feel like he was in something else. But I'm not able to recall. But I'm sure a quick Google search or...
John James Preston, commonly known as Mr. Big. Chris Noth. He was Me Too'd recently.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So but yeah, I could see the similarity. And I could see it. Peter Gallagher, though, number 1.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He was also, tall, dark, and handsome. So, 8 to 9 year old Shrishma was very smitten. I chose this movie because, again, it was one of the movies of the 90s that really stuck out to me, that I can remember very, very vividly watching. There was a lot of W's in these, but
Okay, so this is now. Did you see this in the theater? Was it a rental? Like, how did you run into this impactful movie?
I think it was probably VHS. My sister had a big influence in I think she watched, or she brought it home and we watched it together. And I think we had it on VHS. So every summer it kind of replayed. It was on the rotation.
It was in the, yeah, I got you. If you owned it, you were watching it. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was one of those. I know we were doing a high school series, so I'm sorry to, throw.
Oh no. We can't get bogged down in those type of themes like that.
But rom-coms, clearly not my preferred genre. But this one,
is it not your preferred genre? But isn't Bollywood a rom-com? Really? This is very Bollywood, this
there.
movie.
This movie is, but I don't think I enjoy rom-coms. Maybe. I don't know.
This has been Old Movie Time Machine. Oops, all 90s. Okay.
Okay. Anyway, so let me start with doing a quick summary, stolen from the interwebs.
Love it.
And then we can just start talking about our feelings and thoughts about this movie. When Lucy, a token collector, saves passenger Peter's life, she is mistaken for his fiancé by his family. While Peter is in a coma, things complicate as Lucy begins to fall in love with his brother. And that's the premise for the movie. Any thoughts?
I mean, it's such a meet cute. There's two meet cutes in this movie.
What is a meet cute?
Justin.
Oh, my understanding of a meet cute is it's the story. It's an adorable story of how you got together with your person, right? So if they're, I was working at a Denny's and I had a big tray of dirty dishes, and then he came out of the room and ran right into me, and the dishes went everywhere. Like, that's a meet cute. Our eyes locked over the moons over my hammy leftovers, and it was all, that was it.
I've heard that term before. I just wasn't sure what it meant.
Can I tell you my background with this story?
Sure.
This movie? I mean, it is a story.
It is.
So I remember seeing this in the theater in the day.
Okay.
So this is 95. So I would have been 14. I wasn't dating. So I wonder why I went to... What's that?
Prime age of 15. Like,
no, I should have been dating.
Right.
But not even dating, but like it's Sandra Bullock and she's gorgeous.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
And who wouldn't want to look at her in her 90s jeans? And then also, like, you're learning some skills from these dudes or not.
It just seems also, I think it is more likely that it was just because it was playing at the theater in town, because I saw it at the Howell Theater. Just because it was in town, I went to go see it. And my biggest takeaway memory is, I don't know if you guys know this about how like film works, but the way they frame a shot in film, only so much of it is going to be seen, but you will still pick up like an outer border, right? Mm-hmm. So I remember, and then when it's projected at a theater, and ours was a very poorly run theater, kind of like just a local small theater. If you project the image, all of the black fabric around the screen absorbs the light. So it kind of cuts things off where they should be framed properly. For whatever reason, our local theater had it set up so that all of that was off. Basically, like, I don't know if the projector was tilted down or whatever, but you could see the boom mics of the crew people like hovering over all the people. The entire movie, it was insane. I've never seen anything like it. I'd never seen anything like it up to that point. Never seen it since then.
Yep.
But that was my biggest memory, other than, boy, that guy's got big eyebrows. And also, I think that's about it, really. I mean, she's real cute, but I don't know why I went to see it otherwise.
Have you watched it since then?
No.
This was your first time?
First time revisiting since release, and I watched it twice this past week. I think Well, okay. So the first time I was sort of like, I was watching the end of it and I was like, God, they get married really quickly. Like they make that decision. Their love connection seems really quickly. And then I watched it again just last night and I realized, I fell asleep in the middle. But
it still was really fast.
The groundwork is there. They're doing more groundwork than what I had missed during my little nap during the first round. And it made more sense to me, but still, I would agree. These people are falling in and out of love rapidly and making big life decisions like, let's get married very rapidly.
We also could point out here that Sandra Bullock's character, Lucy, is falling in love with Peter Gallagher from zero interaction other than he dresses well, he's got big eyebrows, and he's polite when he turns in his, what do they call it in Chicago? It's not the subway.
Oh, it's the L.
The L. He's turning in his token to get on the train, right? Okay. And she's like, yep, I'm going to marry this guy because she's lonely. All right. Then she meets his brother in the course of this film, and they have a much stronger, true connection of like, we're having conversations. And really, I think the whole reason, quote unquote, that this movie would work with this kind of fast paced thing is that she spent intimate family time around the holidays and she's deeply yearning for family. Her mother passed away when she was young. She only had her father. So really, like, who knows? She could have married Bill Pullman and then got divorced 5 years later when she realizes maybe he was an asshole. And like marrying someone for their family is not enough.
Yeah, there are so many.
We don't know what happens.
So many of those things that we need to talk about as far as the family dynamic, the holidays. I mean, it's just not a good cross section of what life will be like with these people when it's just a week around the holidays. Right. Like that's not reality. That's
the Christmas joy. It's the Christmas spirit.
Everybody's feeling great. Right. I mean, especially if you are those people and you don't have to like they're retired. Right. A lot of old people,
family business, and I think that's something that was. We don't see as much today as like the family owned business, like the whole and sons.
Right. That drama is pretty much extinguished in the modern world, but it was very much a drama. It occurred to me last night when I was watching this for the third and probably last time, I will say, like, unless somebody wants a nice date night or whatever, in which case, whatever. I mean, this is harmless, but I will say that this reminded me a lot of the high concept. It just occurred to me that this is no different than the craziness of Come September, which is when Rock Hudson and what's her face, they get in the car accident, and she goes blind or whatever, and they fall in love. I mean, it's just as crazy as all those 50s, 60s melodramas that we were watching in the previous series. So, and it really, I think it works in that regard too. I mean, they pull it off.
I think that's the classic Hollywood meet cute, to go back to that phrase, is like, it's somewhat of an imaginable real world context. At the same time, it's so far-fetched that it's out of touch with reality in a lot of ways. But, what we get in this movie is that we realize like this family functions better with Lucy as a part of it. That's what the story that they're selling us, whether it's Peter Gallagher's character or Bill Pullman's character. They are less of an asshole if she's in the picture. So it's like, well, clearly then the rest of the family wants this to happen. But like with Bill Pullman specifically, Lucy's character gives him a spine to say, I really don't want to run the family business. I want to do my own furniture business. And for the hot second that Peter Gallagher's character is awake and also not putting things fully together, he's like, I get it now. I need to change my life for the better. We don't really find out what happens with him, but I mean, it's speaking to what should, in a Hollywood sense, the right kind woman making a difference in these people's lives, which we know is not a reality. She also is someone who I think, watching it now as an adult, where I'm like, you are desperate.
Yes, that was the other thing.
to have the family connection, not just the romance.
Also, like this notion of the single lonely woman who's not happy unless she finds, a person or something.
She had a
else
nice
to be part of.
apartment.
She had a nice apartment. I don't know why she was working at the L. I feel like maybe she could have, just from the other details of the movie, that she might have been able to find a better job. Like I feel
What
like
if
that was
she
within
had-
her realm of possibility rather than just working as a.
She's someone who wanted to travel. So what if she had been an airline stewardess or steward or someone working from like in the 90s? That would have been a totally different movie. She would have been empowered. She would have been like, I don't need a man to define my life. I'm traveling on my own terms.
Yeah.
I have love in my life when I want to have love.
Yeah. And so I think that was for me like very similar to the stories that were told in the 60s. But I think these days we don't like the story of a single woman is much more empowered
Definitely.
than has been in the past.
Moping at the toll booth,
Right.
like
Exactly.
having long distance crushes.
Yeah.
And
in today and day, you can just stalk a person on social and know all about their life.
This is okay. Can we talk about? I want to maybe add a new feature to this series because in the past we had the ashtray count, of course, we had the hat index, and we had the representation watch. Right? These were the three core tenets of Old Movie Time Machine during the 40s, 50s, and 60s. 1990s. Here's what I would like to add for us. Technology creep.
Technology, right.
Is this probable with smartphones?
Well, just the influence of technology, because what we're seeing here is, I felt anyway, is this is the peak of human society in the United States anyway, we'll say, before all that shit creeps in and takes over and starts to change us in a very core fundamental way. So this is peak. I'm living my life. We live with medicine. We have it's civilization right before people start getting phones, and starts
the internet.
And the internet
to a certain extent.
Think of the computers we see in this movie. We only see computers at the hospital. They're just these huge monoliths sitting on the countertop of the check-in people reception. They're very like they serve no function other than to help manage hospital records, presumably, and that's all we get from technology. Otherwise, she's sitting at her very lovely apartment.
Well, I was gonna say, like,
thinking.
her even being a token collector, it just shows that like the lack. Like today would have the phone where you just kind of tap your phone and walk, right? You wouldn't even have a token collector into it. So even the whole premise of the movie, she's like this, working a slowly job at the train station, doesn't exist. But obviously they were able to create that because that's what they did.
It's just the end of the analog manual world, but also it seemed really cozy to me. Like seeing it, it was just sort
cute.
of.
Yes.
I think also this comes down to, let's talk about fits. Let's talk about textiles. Let's talk about our fabrics. Like everybody's wearing huge wool sweaters, big trench coats.
Along with fashion, I want to talk about the warm wood tones we have in the trim and the doors. It's not that harsh, bright white. Hello, I have an entire house of cast iron and bright white.
Just describing your house, yeah.
Right. No, I mean, I totally get it.
But it's the style of the times right now.
It's the style of the times in the 90s. It's a huge difference from today, where it's like there's like, I don't know, industrial chic, farmhouse chic, whatever the fuck they call it.
Right.
This was warm wood tones, ill-fitting jeans that we're seeing nowadays.
There was denim features prominently.
Denim was a big thing.
People were wearing like light jeans.
Stonewashed.
Light jeans.
Yes.
I feel like the light jeans and then the whole baggy look is definitely coming back.
I feel like that's back, right?
It is definitely back. It's been back for a couple of years in the US.
It looks like season 1 and 2 of Friends.
Yes.
Like this movie looks like that. That being said, it's really nice to see Chicago. Now, the IMDb trivia that I read said that this was originally set in Brooklyn. I'm so glad that they moved it, because not everything fucking happens in New York City movies.
Yes.
So just a different location. And Chicago's lovely. It's the New York of the Midwest.
Isn't it supposed to be like really harsh winters in Chicago?
Brutal winters, which they mostly get across here. There are a couple of scenes where I'm like, I'm not seeing people's breath here. It's just obviously like they just shot this on some backlot somewhere wearing layers, but in fake snow. But for the most part, I think the frigidity of a Chicago winter, and there is really none colder that I can think of.
I have watched this young people transition to the 90s style in a couple of ways. And a primary one being that my stepsons do not go to the mall to shop for new clothes. They go to the thrift store. And for I'm talking in the last 4 years, I'm like, you legit look like Chandler from Friends. And what are you wearing?
Any more Chandler? Yeah.
Right. And they're like, they love being called, like, one of their nicknames is like dad. They were like the dad of their group. And he took that with pride. And I'm like, I'm so confused.
Because they're like dad jeans? Because he dresses like he's going to go mow the lawn with
basically
ill-fitting denim jeans and
ill-fitting denim. There might be some, it's a mix of like sweater vests and t-shirts and flannel shirts, and then all the girls' jeans are like high-waisted 90s wide leg jeans. Exactly. Like I was told 2 years ago at the barn Christmas party, like you can't wear skinny jeans anymore. They're not cool. And I was like,
I totally missed this memo because I've been like I don't know, maybe it's the 2000s in me. Love the skinny jean, but apparently it's not a thing anymore.
What do you mean? This is totally skinny pants play. We live in skinny pants.
You live in Iceland.
Yes, the rest of the world.
I'm telling you,
flaring it up.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
I have not just boot cut, like flare. I have a pair of flared jeans. Yes, like that I have that I wear now because I was told 2 years ago that my skinny jeans. I'm like, how the fuck am I gonna like tuck my boots into my jeans?
I want to send that person a memo, whoever they are, and let them know that tight pants are always in fashion.
No,
whether or not you can get away with them.
Here's the thing: we were like 17 at the time, and they were like, "Yeah, the middle part and the tight jeans have to go." And I was like, "Excuse me."
Yeah,
what?
and this whole like the hair, like no one likes poofy hair anymore. It has to be, like slick,
but not a middle part because that's
no middle part.
Wait, for women or men? Or both?
I would say women.
Women.
What does women's hair look like these days?
I have no idea.
All like this.
I don't know, but
like no one likes apparently you're not
strays, like your flyaways, right? Yeah.
And I'm very much
I got flyaways too. Shit, for sure. It's a whole thing. So we are now back to the fashion in this film. While You Were Sleeping, 1995 is core fashion today.
Yes.
For teenagers.
Well, I'm not surprised because it looks cozy as fuck, everybody. Like this is big wool sweaters and sweatshirts,
scarves.
And isn't Bill Pullman wearing one of he's wearing like a jean jacket, but one that's got, it's like fur lined or whatever, or has like a leather collar.
I have one of David's. It is a jean jacket with a suede collar. It is from the 90s. It is from J. Crew, and it is lined with plaid wool on the inside. Great. We were going through his father's house, and I was like, "We will take that jacket."
Yeah, you will. Because that jacket and these looks, for the most part, other than the big pants, I can't wrap my head quite around that.
Big pants are the thing.
I know. But the rest of it, though, like the rest of the feel, and I don't feel like I'm articulating it to the audience well, but like, how would you describe? Like, it's just cozy as fuck, right?
It's just more like loose and baggy. Like it's not like this tight fitting.
Nobody's trying to. It's kind of like it's either black or earth tones for the most part. Yes. A lot of like.
We have no idea what people's bodies look like underneath these clothes. It really is like you have good bone structure.
Unless we're doing it, who cares? But I just feel like that is maybe the best option,
right?
Just for all of us, just forever. But also maybe I'm just thinking back to those last final days before the internet came and just ruined everything. But I don't know.
I felt like looking at Peter's style, like that would be your like.
Really?
I felt like you would enjoy like the long coat,
the camel style coat. Yeah.
Like a nice suit inside.
Yeah, like a good scarf.
Right. Exactly.
A lot of scarves in this movie too. I mean, boy, like a winter movie that's just cozy. It's never going to be cozy. But also warm, because the flip side of this is if you watch, I think it came out the same year, but the original Santa Claus with Tim Allen, another wintry holiday movie. That's a very gray movie. This is very earth tony, like you say, wood grain, Carolyn. It's a very warm, creamy sort of feel, whereas Santa Claus is chilly, very cold, very clinical for some reason. I don't know what that is. I'll have to check their sweater game. I'll have to watch it again and see what their sweaters are like.
Are you pro sweater? Do you like sweaters?
I do like a sweater, but I also get very hot as an individual. So I try to pick my moments with a sweater. Mostly just a t-shirt guy, honestly, just I can regulate better, but I like the look, it's just comfortable. You're wearing a blanket. Yeah. That's all a sweater is. You're just wearing a nice blanket.
It's very true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So should we walk through this movie really quickly?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. So the movie starts with Sandra Bullock narrating, just telling us about her life and her hopes and her dreams and her wishes. That she had, saw with her dad and what her dad wanted for her. And then it kind of fast forwards to her sitting quite lonely in the ticket counter booth, train ticket token counter place.
Nailed it.
Right. Go ahead.
Just a question about, because as you say, we're starting with the narration, so we're immediately into her thoughts, like who she is as a person, and I like her immediately. Right, she's a very empathetic character, right? And Sandra Bullock, 95, she's real cute, right? So, but also, I notice it's interesting to me, and maybe this is because the story that we get later is that she had just moved to Chicago, like within the last couple of years, right? Because Dad got sick, that was the deal, and so we don't know much about what happened between the flashback and modern 1995 day. Right. But she doesn't, her only friend is her supervisor at work, seemingly, for somebody who's so charismatic and kind of like romantic. And I don't know, it just made me kind of sad.
I feel like I can't empathize with losing a parent, but I feel like she had everything to kind of go out there and make her life better if she wanted to. So maybe she was just grieving and still kind of in that whole grieving process, and which is why she kind of became like,
yes,
the character that we saw at that point of the movie.
I'm just curious what her story is, the years that we missed, because we see her as she's probably like 8 to 10 years old or something like that. And then we catch up with her and she's probably late 20s? Yes. Is that what we're led to believe?
I think so.
So in that 10 years, was it just like a full-time dad is sick and this is what I do is I take care of my one parent? Or like, I'm just curious as to what her life was like before her move to Chicago. And I guess we don't really get too much insight into that. Anyway, it just made me sad to see this like very seemingly like kind, fun, life-changing woman, according to this family anyway, just be so lonely and sad. It made me sad.
That's true. I agree. I just felt like not knowing any of that background, but just, with what we got of her on the screen. Yeah. Like, I felt like she could, have really made something for herself.
She's young enough. I think she probably did. Let's assume that she did.
Okay. But here she was, very lonely and sad.
Okay. The next part of this is, it's interesting to me because part of the other trivia was that this was originally set up to be a gender reversal. So, which would have potentially been very creepy if she had been a man doing this with a woman,
right?
Like, not so on, right? But the switching of the genders and the roles makes it more
endearing.
Well, she's certainly more endearing, but also it switches the gaze that we've talked about in the past. So in the last episode, Can't Hardly Wait, we talked about how time slows down and we move to slow motion when Jennifer Love Hewitt, I call her Love, when Love walks through the front door and we are objectifying her, right? She does the same thing to Peter when he walks through the turnstiles at the platform, right? Like it's like almost identical. Yeah. Slow motion shot, beautiful human being walking by, and that's all we fixate on through her gaze as the audience is this person that we are idealizing or what have you. But
which, by the way, people, physical attraction, yes, is an important component of a relationship, but really
not the end, though.
Not the end, because sometimes they can just be fucking dicks. And
and the looks go as well. You know,
we all age.
We all fade. I mean, we're all decomposing every day, everybody. I hate to be the one to tell you that,
right?
But our beauty is not eternal.
Right. Just, you know, but I think that obviously this is a movie trope that we see is that, love at first sight, whatever it might be. And obviously in this film also does not hold true. The physical is not enough, as she learns that that Peter Gallagher's character is a little bit of an asshole.
Yeah. And I think she sees
carry on, please.
We'll get to that point, to what I was going to say. But so anyway, so she's here working at the L. She sees Peter, and she's decided that, she loves him. And obviously at this point, it's just a fantasy. So we all have fantasies, which I think is valid. Very rarely are we, does the fantasy come so close to home where now she has the opportunity to save his life.
Yeah.
So she sees him getting mugged. He gets pushed onto the railway line. She saves him, and then she goes with him to the hospital. So that kind of serendipity. Is that a good description?
Totally different movie.
It is, but a completely different movie, as I learned last week.
This is not the movie Serendipity.
Where they meet while buying gloves.
Right.
Yeah. Talk about serendipity.
It's in the movie.
I never said I was the smartest. I never said that.
But I've never found a good use of the word. So here you go. That was it was very
serendipitous of them
meeting.
There's also some leaps of logic made by the hospital staff.
All right.
I've got 30 things to say. Carolyn, you start.
Oh, I just mean that, as Sandra Bullock's character, Lucy's standing there and she's like, I was going to marry him, and some nurse overhears because the doctors are like,
oh, wait, we got to go back. We got to go before the hospital, but just like him being attacked by these street thugs who have also apparently paid for their own token just to go mug somebody in the broad daylight. Number one. Number two, he falls so quickly. Number three, she jumps right down with him. Does not try very hard to wake him up. She just says, hey, mister, a bunch of times, doesn't shake him, slap him, do something. You have to behave other than sniffing him. She just smells him. And then also, that train is way too close for the characters. Number one, the idea that it's
just
right
a body roll.
Off. Right. Yeah, and number two, it's way too close for the actors. I think too. That stunt that was really close. I think those stunt people were in serious danger.
This is very Bollywood, so you just kind of chalk it up to
this. I mean, that's all I was thinking watching this was. I was wondering why this movie, and it made perfect sense after about 20 minutes, because then we get to the hospital, and like you say, Carolyn, there is
making leaps of logic.
Oh my God. And it doesn't compute.
No.
Yeah. If you're looking at it through, this is reality eyes, none of this, she doesn't try very hard to explain herself.
No.
At all. When the mix up happens, the mix-up shouldn't have happened at all. The
mix-up shouldn't have happened. The family should have asked a hell of a lot more questions, but they just assumed. They were like, this is great. He's engaged. And then invited her to all these holiday functions that she goes to.
Yeah,
and so plays along and plays along. So there's a whole lot of leaps of logic. And
that doctor, why is that doctor such a gatekeeper? Why is he getting off on the, doctors? They're not, it's family only. Right.
While
at the same time, he is in this fucking room right next to the front desk with all the windows open. There's no privacy whatsoever for this coma patient.
And the only reason that's not creepy is because we think that Sandra Bullock is a nice person because it's Sandra Bullock.
She's real cute. Yeah, right. I mean,
otherwise it is a totally creep factor thing that's going on in this. But it's just it is.
But I'm just saying, sometimes you see a person from afar and you don't interact with that person, but you do you see someone that you're enamored by enough times. Yeah, you do create fantasies in your head, but never something that you expect to be, become a reality, because Yeah, it's a stranger.
Suddenly in this life,
it's a stranger that I don't even know. Like, do I really believe that I'll get married to him? Like, no. At least, maybe not like growing up.
Clearly, when she was saying that out loud, it was
like, you know.
It's a little bit. I felt like a bit of a joke to herself. She's like, I was going to marry him. Like,
right,
you know.
Exactly. She wasn't even like, I felt serious about it. She was more like, there goes, you know, there he goes. Like
the nurse
really kind of needs some lessons on minding her own fucking business.
Well, no kidding. I mean, she just jumps right to the conclusion. Right. Doctor, it's his fiance, which, Lucy, isn't this not the point where you say, no. Absolutely not. That's not true at all. And while I am a lonely person, I don't need I don't need the coma scene at the hospital with the complete extended family, including Godfather, who's not related at all.
Right.
Oh, by the way, Grandma, do you guys recognize Grandma? Do you know who
yes. That voice.
Do you want to tell the people?
Yeah, Mary Poppins.
She's the mom from Mary Poppins.
Oh, she sure
Glynis
is.
Johns.
Yes.
Cast off the shackles of yesterday.
Now that you say I see it.
The shackles of yesterday. I mean, I would like, you can't, I heard that voice and I was like, okay, Mary Poppins. I totally forgot that you were in this, Mrs. Banks.
Yeah, Mrs. Banks, exactly.
Point. Yes.
We also have Peter Boyle, who is, he was on Raymond. If you were a Raymond fan, I know him from Young Frankenstein. Okay. He plays the monster, but he's famously bald character actor.
Right.
I don't know. How do you feel about this family? Do you like this family?
For me, they were like a normal, like overbearing, I love my children family. They just, you know, seem pretty standard.
Did you buy into her?
So that's the thing. Like,
she falls in love with them.
She does, but
yes,
I kind of get it. I get it.
Yeah, I kind of.
The first time when I was having my naps, I didn't quite buy into it. The second time, I was sort of like, yeah, I can see how this works. I will allow this.
But I also see, like, if you have, like, what I was just saying, like, you know, you don't ever think your fantasies will come true. But if you're put in a position where your fantasy could be a reality, what would you do in that situation? And I feel like, you know, they just played out
until you make it.
Right, exactly. Like, people do it all the time today. You know, it's not like, you know.
Say that. I get what you're saying. Like, I'm giving her a lot of shit for not being more
but like,
protesting.
Shit, I can have everything if I want, if I just don't
got
say
the dreamboat
anything.
Guy. Yeah.
Right.
This whole family, I'm the only person everybody knows who does not have, I have zero family apparently, because I always have to work on Christmas, which is bullshit. And I look really good because I'm a hero.
Right.
And
he's not, you know, you don't know the prognosis. He may never wake up.
That's true. Well, another thing where, like, technology creep, everybody would be Googling within seconds. Every person in this movie would be Googling one another within moments. I mean, we just do this, right? Like, is this not part of, like, meeting people nowadays? Give them a Google, right?
The family seems to be kind of concerned about the coma, but not, like, as concerned as I would expect them to be. Like, they go on with their holiday celebrations, and I'm like,
nobody's worried at all about.
No. What if he never wakes up? What if he's a vegetable?
That's true.
They don't seem, they're just like assuming he's going to wake up.
Clearly, Jack was the favorite son. Because maybe I feel like also in this movie, Peter had distanced himself from the family a little bit. He became like this hotshot lawyer. He had this fancy apartment.
They're a little bit more working class, and he's taking the leap into white collar.
Can we talk about Bill Pullman?
We can.
So he works for you, Shrishma. Like, he's like a romantic figure.
He does. He absolutely works for me.
Why?
I don't know. I think it's the rugged, like, just like compared to Peter, the more, ruggedness. I don't think I like the whole, you know, I'll wear a fancy suit and here's my suitcase. Or I'll, you know, build you a wooden chair and build you a fire and we can sit by the fire together on our wooden chairs. And
I ask because neither one of these men work for me in any kind of way.
Wow, really?
Oh my God, neither one.
I feel like, well, David Time Machine, your husband, for new listeners, We call him Old David Time Machine. He's our second.
He's old.
Fan. What's up, Kyle, by the way? And also he is ancient. No, but I feel like he might be the perfect blending of both of these brothers into one human. Because he's fancy, but he's out there shoveling shit at the barn too. So
right. I mean,
what am I missing with?
He's not a brainiac. He's a little bit more hands-on. Okay. So I feel like maybe they're both too extreme and like,
maybe that was the point. Like you're
Peter Gallagher's not my, like the eyebrows are too much. Like he's just not my type.
I mean, those are fixable with some threading,
No, he's I recognize like he's a symmetrical, handsome human being. Just doesn't do it for me.
Aesthetics are pleasing. Yeah.
Yes, the majority of the population. He's not ugly to look at by any means, but I'm not like, oh, Peter Gallagher. Wow.
Yeah.
No, and I'm not like that about Bill Pullman either. I'm more like it's Bill Pullman.
I did think it was funny that your two options for this movie for this week were both Bill Pullman movies because he's the president in the ID4. Yeah. So you had a hankering. I got to revisit my old school crush, and I get it. I understand.
I didn't think about it, but now that you say it, yes,
Shrishi is a thing.
Independence Day.
Yeah, hey. you were like, that's right.
Bill Pullman, if you would like to come on this show and talk with us about your films from the 90s, we will absolutely set you up with Shrishi Boo for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Bill Pullman, if you're out there, or
Peter
Gallagher, for Christ's sake, or Sandra, of course.
Sandra, if you're listening,
she's busy.
Yeah,
but I mean, the dudes. I mean, they got to be available. Also, Michael Wincott, just another recall to Michael Wincott, our dream guest for this series. Yeah, Michael, we'll drop everything and get it done as soon as you are ready.
He has a voice for podcasts.
Right. While I was sleeping, I discovered there was this new podcast.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I mean,
so Bill Pullman he looks. This is not him at his youngest, of course. No. He was in Spaceballs. That was 87. I just looked it up. Sandra she had done some TV work in the late 80s as well. But this is really kind of. I feel like at least her coming out party.
As far as
right?
I can remember, at least in my first viewing of Sandra Bullock was.
And Pullman, I feel like. It's interesting to factor in the Spaceballs because he is playing the Harrison Ford role in the parody of Star Wars. So he's the Han Solo. And yet I always think of him more as suit-wearing president, I guess. And also... He's
just a white dude.
Yeah, kind of bland white dude, right? Kind of safe. But I will say he is a little bit earthier here, befitting his... construction, moving furniture thing.
He's tanner than,
The hair looks great. I have to say, his hair game was on point, and that's tough in a Gallagher movie.
Yeah, I think it was also, I don't know. I think he was just really cute with the family. Like, he was worried about his brother's well-being, so he checked out
little sister, Monica Keena, who would later go on to be a real troublemaker on Dawson's Creek. We haven't talked Dawson's Creek yet on this in the very 90s. Oops, all 90s. We should have talked about Dawson's Creek on Can't Hardly Wait because it's a confluence of Dawson's Creek and Kids WB and all the Abercrombie shit we were talking about last time. All that shit came together and exploded in incredible commerce. But I will say Monica Keena, she's a shit stirrer on that show, but to see her a little bit younger here, maybe too young, as in
too innocent.
You were an accident, right? Like you were.
Yeah, she was an accident child, for sure.
But I'd like to see her. We could have used more of her, I thought.
I think so too.
Because she just seems like a nice person, and she loves her brothers,
from
and
my
she loves
memory,
Lucy.
From my memory, I thought she was in it a much more than I felt like she had a bigger role. There
are a ton of people in this movie, so maybe that's me not being fair with I need 12 character arcs.
Right, but I do think that she seemed a little young for how mature her 30-something-year-old brothers appear to be.
Yeah.
The other thing is that I will say, I think this film came to fruition, if I imagine it's a Hollywood backlot story, is that someone said, while you were sleeping, that's a cute title. And then they wrote an entire film
around
just to get to the end.
100.
Where they're like, well, when did you fall in love? While you were sleeping.
Right. Exactly.
Not while you were in a coma, doofus.
I think I mentioned it this movie last week as well.
Was he sleeping or was he in a coma? I think he was in a coma. He wasn't just fucking asleep. He was like brain damaged.
But it's cuter that way.
Right. Okay.
Until you look at his wall. He looks at his wall and it's all pictures of him.
Right.
In different outfits. That's insanity. That'd be like, oh, he's a psycho. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
That's another call out to, an era gone by, having pictures in your
wallet. Did you guys have pictures in your respective wallets?
I did.
No.
I did too. What were they of? Do you remember?
I think it was of my I think one was of my family.
Okay.
And then I had a couple, shots of me and my friends.
Interesting.
I remember there was a point. There was a few that I kept in there, but the one that kind of stuck out was.
I don't think I had a wallet.
I don't remember, to be honest.
Okay, all I remember is I had a trading card from the original 1989 Batman movie. You could buy packs of cards, right, for movies, and it was Jack Napier. Turning into the Joker, just him wearing his purple suit, looking kind of cool. I had the Jack Napier card that was in my driver's license slot of my kid wallet. And the only other, and I was there for years until it actually fell apart and disintegrated. I should really hit eBay and get a new one. That'd be kind of fun throwback.
But you'd be paying a premium for that.
I mean, at least $2, I bet. I will run to eBay shortly after finishing the sentence. But also I don't think I had people in my life. I do recall I had a real, especially during this era, I think I've talked about this before actually, but I had a real crush on Jennifer Aniston because everything was Friends at this point, right? It's early season 1, 2 of Friends. And there was, I thought she was just so pretty, right? So
she's still so pretty.
What's that?
Can you be original?
Well, next week, because I get to choose the next movie, we're going to talk about an important crush.
Okay.
And anyway, so I had a picture of her cut out from a magazine. There was some Pepsi or Coke competition with the Friends cat. I don't know. It's her. It's like a headshot of her though, black and white. I remember, and she looked really good. And I cut it out and I put it in my wallet.
That's really cute, Justin.
Is it? Cute. I mean, I was 13.
Right.
So I guess that's cute. That qualifies as cute, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Right. But otherwise, definitely not pictures of myself, nor pictures of my family. Sorry. But or friends, really.
Feel I also had a picture of myself. But I think it was my ID card.
Yeah.
So that's the one that faced out. So it was my face on my ID card.
Oh, well the ID card, that's a different thing than
I'm sure I had a picture of myself.
It was harder to get. It's hard for kids today to understand, but to get a photograph was quite a fucking process.
Right.
It was.
Absolutely. You had to wait a long time.
Especially in 1995. It would have been real film. You had to drop off somewhere to have developed. And you had no idea what you were fucking getting.
Number one, I need access to a camera. If I'm 13, I need to have a camera that takes real pictures. Number two, I need to be able to get to a store to buy film. Number three, I need money to buy the film. Number four, I need the opportunity where I actually have the camera present to take a picture worth taking. Number five, I have to go get said pictures developed after going through, because I can't waste a photo.
No.
And those were 24, 36.
But you legit have no idea if the camera was focusing on you or what the fuck you were getting.
Exactly.
No, I mean, so many things could go wrong. So many variables.
In my photos from middle school, I still have a handful of them. And I mean, handfuls, quite literally, it's mostly just my hand through a lot of them, just seeing parts of fingers. And then, the developing process. I mean, there's a lot of trips and if you're not accessible to town. So no, I'm done.
No, I was just going to add my first visit to America was in 1999.
Okay.
And one of the most exciting parts was going with my uncle to Sam's Club to drop off the rolls, So you had to put them in the little package and drop it off, and then we'd go collect it. And then you had to go. So that I remember doing that and being really excited about. Oh my God, we're getting our pictures
because you get to see them.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously we did that in Malaysia, but I just felt like the whole Sam's Club aspect and like the ripping the envelope.
Oh,
was
sure.
really exciting. I don't know why.
Yes.
So like a photo hut used to be a real thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like, what are the famous photo? Oh, it's Pete and Pete, actually. I think photo huts feature prominently in the Mr. Tasty episode.
Oh, yeah.
Which is another, we've talked about it, but very 90s show. We should probably touch on again. But yeah, I mean, just an entire industry.
Yes.
Gone now.
Yeah, just gone. Now it's an art form to develop photos on.
Gone in the way of Blockbuster.
It's true. I think drugstores started incorporating it in the US anyway. You go to the pharmacy and there would be like a corner where you could
Walgreens or whatever else.
Maybe they still do it on some level because somebody is still shooting film and not everybody has a dark room. So
when I need something printed out, and that is like from an iPhone photo or from the beautiful digital camera that I got for David, whatever it might be. Because at this point now it's like, okay, you can get your iPhone photos or you can have the nice camera and get the like high speed action shit right from the sport events that are downloaded onto the computer. But when I want to print one out, I still have to go through Costco. If I want to frame something. No, like you submit it online and then have it printed out.
You have a place like that here that I've used in the past. Yes.
Right. And I've done everything from like, I'm going to have it put on a piece of acrylic and it's like a huge blow up of a photo, or something that's like, I'm getting a 5x7 to frame in the house.
Well, this was a great photo detour.
Oh my God. Yeah. What a detour.
But I think I think it's interesting because obviously
it's a show about time,
And so he's in a coma. They think she's his fiance. And she doesn't have the heart to tell them otherwise. So they go along with this little charade for, they keep going. And then
Can I ask a question at this particular juncture of you, both of you? If you were in Sandra Bullock's shoes at this moment, and you were faced with this family that's like, oh my God, Peter's engaged. We're so excited for him, or whatever they are saying. Would you go along with it, or would you be like this, immediately be like, guys, no. I just was there.
I feel like if I truthfully had to answer that question, I would go along with it.
You would? Okay. So you, Shrishma, this is, I feel like, very Bollywood. This is so Bollywood that you'd be like, no, I'm in a Bollywood film. And
yes, I was like, I can't believe it's happening. Okay, let's see where it goes.
Let's go. Justin, would you go along with it?
Would I go along with it? Okay.
You're so polite, or would you?
Am I me or am I Lucy?
You're you. No, you're you. I'm saying like you're you. You saved Lucy's life, someone cute and attractive that you've like, had a faraway crush on, whatever. And the family's like, great, you're engaged. Would you go along with it? Or would you be like, we've never spoken before?
Yeah, no, I can't go. Like we've already discussed, we've parsed Lucy's decision-making here. So like it's justifiable in her loneliness, right? Her aching loneliness and need for any kind of human interaction. So I can allow it there. Me as a human in this situation, absolutely not. I'm not going to be a dick about it. Like I'm going to be as gentle as possible because these are elderly people. They're gone through this trauma with their kid. I get it. So I'm going to be sensitive about it. That being said, again, back to the coma issue. They don't seem that upset about it. Like
no. Also, like, what if he is a vegetable? I'm sitting there going, like, what if he's a vegetable for the rest of his life?
He could be like this for like they just assume he's taking a very long nap. He's just while you were sleeping.
It's while you were sleeping.
But maybe
it's while you were in a coma.
I guess so.
While you were in a coma just does not sound this. It does not have the same kind of meet cute that while you were sleeping does.
Right. So my answer is no. I would probably, I don't know if I would play the room, right? I would try to read the room and like, is this a thing where I can be like, guys, I'm very flattered. I appreciate it. But just so you guys know, we don't have a relationship. Like I only know I'm this person from this scenario. I've seen this person, and maybe if they seem fine with it still, and you still are like, I'm attracted to Lucy in a coma, maybe you hang out a little bit.
Right.
Maybe
Get to
you
know
linger,
them.
right? Like that, you linger, right? Like that,
Right.
right? Like that's a much more organic way than building everything on lies, which I think is
correct.
problematic.
Okay, good. Okay, all right. I would very rudely be like, no.
Fantasy of lies.
I would not even be
Is
trying to
that
be
what
gentle.
fantasy is?
Yeah,
It's
I
just,
guess so, yeah.
unrealistic things.
Yeah, interesting.
Trish was ready for Bollywood.
I've been ready since I was 10 years old, guys.
Listen, we keep interrupting you. Tell us about
Yeah, go
why
ahead. Okay.
When
I
does
just
the
had to
show
ask.
start?
So she's his fiance, and then she gets invited home to their home for Christmas dinner. And I believe that's where she meets, or no, she stays the night. And Jack, who's the brother we've been talking about, he comes in a little later after everyone's gone to bed. He sees someone sleeping on the couch, and he asks his sister, "Who's that?" And the sister
FYI,
tells him,
come on. If some stranger were staying in your house, you'd put them in the guest bedroom. You'd be
That's
like,
true.
little sis, move the fuck out of
you
your
good
room. You
movie.
sleep on the couch.
Holidays, though, there's a bunch of old people. Like, there's probably
Nah.
people staying with people.
But she also might have been really nice and been like, "Oh, I'll just take the couch.
I'll just take the couch."
Guys.
That's
Don't
totally
worry.
Lucy. Yeah,
That's
I agree.
I feel like that would have been a very Lucy move.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I can allow it.
Lucy moves, by the way.
Right.
That's a new category for
Lucy moves.
You meet Lucy, boy, sweet Lucy move there.
So anyway, she tries to leave the next morning, and that's when she meets Jack for the first time. I believe that's correct. And that's where, they have their little, sparks fly. He makes a joke. She laughs. They have
Do sparks fly, or is she like, I gotta get out of here before they catch
But
me?
also sparks fly.
But all right, okay.
Very light sparks.
I don't want to
I
interrupt.
thought he was a little questionable about who the fuck is this person. And
Well,
she was
okay,
like, I
okay,
gotta
this
get out of
is
here.
what I want to talk about. He is very suspicious immediately.
Right.
In a way that I think is maybe too suspicious. Part of me thinks it's too suspicious. Another part of me thinks this is the right amount of suspicion. If only because this is a recurring theme throughout the rest of the movie. And where he is making a lot of assumptions, whether it's her health, her pregnancy, who she's engaged with, like, is she a con artist? Like the whole thing. He is very suspicious from the jump. And again, if we lived in a technologically advanced world, everybody's Googling everybody, and this is cleared up immediately.
Right. Agreed.
Anyway.
Certain things happen. I think she has his stuff from the hospital, and she finds a can of cat food. So she makes the connection that he has a cat. And then she goes to his apartment to feed said cat.
Yeah.
Bumps into Jack again.
Quite literally.
Literally.
That was in the trailer. I remember that. I had sense memory of that. Also, I don't want to bog us down, but there is another woman who only briefly, I love the fact that we don't stay with her very long. Like, she just kind of shows up as an obstacle for a half a second, and then she's kind of dealt with.
Right.
Like when he comes out of the coma, spoilers, and he's like, "No, we broke up," because I was very confused during round one, my nap watch, when he comes out of the coma and she is back in the picture. I'm just thinking, like, so does he actually have amnesia, or like, that was very confusing. And then I watched it again and made more sense of like, okay. He remembers breaking up with them. That's why that makes sense, but not the Lucy part. Gotcha. Right. Okay.
We get one or two scenes where it's again throwback to an era gone by answering machine where a call comes in. Please leave a message. This is Peter Gallagher, and it beeps, and she leaves a message. Apparently, he proposed to her at one point. We don't know who this woman is until much later, but I think there's two times where she calls him once, and then there's a second time where she's like, "Where the fuck are you, Pete?"
She's like, "I'd like to pick up my cat because it's not." Right, Peter's cat. He's cat sitting for the married woman he proposed.
I don't even know her name. I think it was Ashley.
Ashley,
right?
of whom he gave her a new nose and new breasts.
Right. So he paid for her. That was kind of weird. I thought that was kind of odd.
Very 90s.
Added to kind of like the assholeness of Peter for some reason to me.
Definitely.
Just to pause, I think here we just need to talk about where Lucy lives. Her home, she's in an apartment complex, and we are introduced to her landlord and her landlord's son, Joe Jr., who also happens to have a crush on Lucy.
This guy's the worst.
He also played Jackie Aprile in The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That
Just
makes
FYI.
sense. Yes, he does have not maybe a heart of gold, but like he's not a bad.
He doesn't mean, he means well.
He's just got a very stereotypical swagger about him, and everybody. It's interesting. A lot of people, including the family members, sound like they are from Brooklyn rather than Chicago,
right?
Which is a very distinct accent, which is not the Andrew Dice Clay Long Island accent.
Right.
But yeah, he is. I guess he's a comedic for like he creates a lot of misunderstandings with Jack as far as like, yeah, me and Lucy are dating, boom, hey, oh, and then also there's a lot of shenanigans where he's coming over with Ice Capades tickets, and she's hiding him in her closet, and he's like, hey, nice panties, and all that. Like it's just kind of like a weird. Not a great character, but not a totally offensive one.
I also don't know why she's hiding him in her closet. Like, why wouldn't you just be like, oh, thank God you're here. Joe Jr., get out.
Right.
It's a little sitcom-y writing. It's a little, yeah.
But also kind of, I think Jack's trying to figure out if she's really the fiance or not. So he has his suspicions. And then there's a couple of scenes where basically she tries to keep up the facade, if you will. And some, loose explanations as to why she has the keys.
Lucy explanations.
Right. Why she has the keys, why she was at the apartment, and how she's not dating Joe Jr. So anyway, after all of this, he's convinced, okay, maybe she's telling the truth after all. She is the fiance. And then there's the cute little scene where he shows her the wooden rocking chair that he made with his hands, which was also really cute. And, it was a nice rocking chair.
He's got dreams.
And,
he has a craft he plies.
And she, so their dynamic is she kind of motivates him to be his own man.
No, she calls him out on his bullshit for sure, where she's like, oh, I don't know, just have a conversation with your father about what you really want to do. And he's like, maybe you should actually travel.
Exactly. So they kind of call
sitting in the L train.
Exactly. So they both kind of challenge each other as to why they're not following their dreams. And, inspire, well, at least she inspires him. And then she realizes she's kind of falling in love with this guy. And they both make eyes at each other. And there's very, looks of eye action going on.
The lean. There's the whole scene about, he leaned into you.
The leaning. So that's a fun scene. That's a fun scene. There's also the ice. We're slipping and sliding all over each other's scene. That's real cute. I buy their romance.
The alternate end to this film is that Lucy comes clean. Peter comes clean. He's like, I don't know who the fuck she is. I do not have amnesia. And she takes herself to Florence. Because basically it sounds like girlfriend needs to just use her vacation time and go on a fucking trip.
Well, true. Yeah.
Or fall in love,
Or meet someone in Florence. I don't
know. So anyway, all of this happens. And then Peter wakes up and doesn't know who she is. And everyone kind of twisted around to he has amnesia because there's no way he's not not engaged to this wonderful woman.
How could he not love her?
It must be, you have amnesia.
Right, of course.
Right.
I mean, and this is our act 3.
We're sitcom plotting here, but we'll allow it. It's 95. Okay.
Right. But it's the act 3. Things have to ratchet up. And therefore, Peter becoming awake and then basically joining in on the, okay, I'm engaged now and I'm going to marry this woman when clearly she's in love with his brother.
Well,
and vice versa.
We haven't mentioned it, but there's the Godfather, right? Okay,
Saul.
Go,
Saul,
please.
go for it.
Just to say, I think, we skipped over this, but the only other person who knows that she's not the fiance is the Godfather. And he overheard her at some point early on in the hospital saying that, she's not his fiance. But his whole story is, I can't let anyone hurt the family. You make this family really happy. You have to keep this going.
Your empire of lies must continue.
Right, must continue for the good and the happiness of this family that I love so much.
What did he call Peter? A putz?
Right, a putz. So he, instead of kind of letting the truth come to light, convinces Peter that he's a putz, and just needs to look into this girl's eyes and fall madly in love with her.
Like the rest of us
very
have.
Questionable advice from a Godfather. And he presents himself as listen, I've known you your entire life.
Right.
If you don't meet this woman for the first time and then immediately being engaged with her, you're an idiot.
Right.
Also, I'm this guy who can listen. I can hear things. Like, he overhears this. I can live with this unbearable, guilt-ridden knowledge and not do anything about it other than help you continue your lies. And also, everybody in this family has all access backstage passes to the hospital. They come and go as they please.
In the middle of the fucking night.
The guy comes in. He's like, doctor, he's awake again. Everybody's like, well, let's get in there. He's like, no. I'm sorry. I said doctor, not 8 septuagenarians and a teenager. And like, no, what's going on? Anyway, it's just crazy to me. But movie plotting, sorry.
So,
pre 9/11, pre-COVID. The hospital's like the airport.
So they all set up for a wedding in the hospital. I think I skipped over some part, but this is where we find ourselves for the big climax of this movie. Is that Peter agrees that this is indeed his fiance, that he may or may not have amnesia. That's unclear.
Yeah.
I think there was a confrontation with Ashley where he told her that he wants the nose and the boobs back.
Yep.
It's really like a different movie, that last act. Yeah, sorry.
And then we find ourselves at the chapel in the hospital. And this is where, I think Sandra or Lucy decides that enough is enough. I
would love to be son, but not this one.
And basically she says, I'm in love with your brother. I'm in love with you, Jack. And he's real cool about it. He's like, I knew it. Was the look on Jack's face.
Yeah. Wait, just real quick, I want to go back to the fact that we're at the hospital chapel.
Right.
So that maybe it didn't register when I was watching this the 2 times I watched it recently, this decade. That's really quick. That's a lot of pressure. Maybe let him just recover from his coma.
So to me, that was kind of awkward. Like, why didn't they let this man come out of the hospital, fully recover, and then get married? Why was there such a rush?
Date this woman, familiarize himself with the woman again, and
I don't see the rush for the wedding in the hospital.
For either of them, to be honest.
No, and the only reason it's a rush is because it was Act 3 of the film and they want to wrap this shit up so that they can get to the line of, we fell in love while you were sleeping.
You were sleeping.
Right. So anyway, she speaks her truth. And then, the whole room erupts into chaos and she silently makes her exit because she knows she fucked up.
Well, she realizes the dark side of the family dynamic, which is everybody's going to have their fucking say into everybody else's decision making. Yeah. And that's when Christmas is over. It's just like, oh, that's right. You were adorable, but now you're in my life, controlling and manipulating my, maybe not so much.
So, and then it kind of fast forwards to her in her lonely ticket token booth, back to where she was. I think at this point she does plan to take a trip. I can't remember if she's, finally decided, okay, I'm going to take this trip.
Yes. Yeah.
He
She's
makes a
going to take
plan.
some vacay time.
Take some vacation time.
Okay.
And then
she's
the
going
whole
on that
family,
trip.
then the whole family and Jack show up at
drop
her
a ring into
phantom
her.
toll booth.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
slide the ring in through.
And he
that's
slides the
romantic.
ring
There's the ring, and then he lets her through. She lets him through, and he proposes.
Do they say, "Will you marry us"? Is it one of those?
yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those moments of
If
life.
they didn't, they should have, because they're all there beaming
Right.
and
I mean, that is the other name of this movie, though, the Phantom Toll Booth. And
Norton
It's-
Adjusters while you're
it's-
sleeping.
While you were sleeping.
Yeah.
while you're sleeping,
Then-
aka the Phantom Toll
Then
Booth.
one day Peter asked me, "When did you and Bill fall in love?" And she said, and I said, or whoever said, "While you were sleeping." And as
He was not sleeping. He was in a coma. So no, he wasn't just like taking a nap and they fell in love while he was like on a little snooze cruise. He's in a fucking
But
coma.
her whole character was this real, like, I have a really soft voice and I don't talk like this and
Mhm.
I don't say anything rude or mean, or I felt.
Yeah. Do we learn enough about Lucy, the person? Or is it another case of not unlike Love in Can't Hardly Wait, where it's like this character needs to go out into the world and figure out who they
Mhm.
are?
Correct.
Is that the same thing?
I
Okay.
think so.
I would agree.
I would agree too.
I would
Yeah,
agree.
that kind of wraps up and it, kind of ends with them making out on a train.
Married at their wedding.
Married. Okay. Yeah. And then, we hear that, again, ends with her narrating that she takes the trip. They go on their honeymoon, to
Mhm.
Florence.
So she gets
Fantastic.
the love, she gets the family, and she gets a trip to Florence.
I mean, this one time I got married in Florence, but I totally married the wrong person, so I don't recommend.
Carolyn,
Did you really get married in
she got married in Florence.
Wow.
For real.
That's
With
a
lots
real
of vecchio.
story.
Mhm.
Yeah.
True story. True story.
True.
I don't have any pictures of it because I fucking burned that shit.
Fantastic.
Did you go?
I was poor. No, it's quite a.
It was very small.
And there you go.
Bad decision.
So I noticed that we stopped doing one-line reviews, but I think we're still going to.
While you were in a coma.
We're still asking the final
We're
vital
asking
ultimate question.
which is,
My one-line review is
do we keep this movie or do we chuck it out into the ether of the world / universe? Justin,
Yes, Shrishma.
do you keep this movie or do you not?
Thanks for swinging back around to me. Just because it just occurred to me, I have a joke I'd like to throw back to.
Yes.
What I should have said earlier when I was telling you about my viewing experiences. Turns out, while I was sleeping, a whole bunch of plot points happened that I missed and didn't see until the second time around.
Right.
Anyway, just wanted to throw that in there. I did get around to it eventually. It's reflective of real life, where I think of the thing like 10 minutes afterwards. I should have said that. Anyway,
I think you said it though.
did I say
I
it?
think you said it.
Mm-mm. You did not. You didn't make that joke.
I feel like I would have said it. I feel like there would have been more groaning from you guys, more disappointment in me making that reference. You would have been like, oh, okay, let's move
I'm
along.
surprised I didn't make the joke for you.
Now I got the joke.
I was sleeping.
Turns out while I was sleeping.
So while I was sleeping.
Anyway.
They're recording.
Back to your very critical question. Look, I think that, like I say, there was a shift between viewing 1, during which I was sleeping, and viewing 2, during which I got the full picture, right? I liked it better the second time around. Technically the third time around because I saw this in the theater. Anyway, my answer is going to be a no.
Mm-hmm.
It's a much more borderline no than the first time when I was like, what? There's no reason for any of this shit to happen. Turns out I was sleeping.
Right.
I like it better the second time. I think it is a good, solid date movie. I'd recommend it for a date. But as far as, is it the best of these movies? I think there's something better out there. And I'm not talking about Serendipity, which we came down on, that was 2000.
I have never watched that movie, by the way.
I think I saw it that one time, enough to see the glove scene anyway. But I think that's the year 2000. So I'm going to say no, but it is only because I feel like there must be a better version of this out there. Okay. Pros, though, are great date movie. and also the coziness factor, the analog coziness we've talked about, and the low technology creep. But it's a no for me.
Gotcha. Carolyn.
I'm going to allow it, and not because it's great, but the other movie that I'm thinking that falls in this genre from the 90s, it also is about sleeping or not sleeping. Sleepless in Seattle, which is even more far-fetched.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Maybe we have those.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's even more far-fetched than this movie. This looks plausible compared to Sleepless in Seattle. So I'm going to allow it for its cozy 1990 simpler life vibes.
I also feel like I'll have to allow it just because it's a close to the heart favorite.
Bill Pullman, if you would like to come and talk to Shrishma on this show, we are here for you. Old movie time machine. Here for you.
That's true. Yeah, we have open door policy for all Bill Pullman activity.
Right.
Or Peter Gallagher. That's cool. Either one.
Michael Wincott. Sandy, of course. Please. Come over. What's the deal?
Please come over.
If you will, please. Yeah.
So the matriarchy has outvoted the patriarchy.
Right.
We're keeping it.
Sure. Great.
But I also feel like in real life, she's had a really shit time of love. Sandra Bullock.
I just was reminded that she was with that Jesse James guy, right?
Like ended up cheating with like everyone and their mom.
Kat Von D's involved or something like that. Where's Sandra at in her life right now?
I have no idea, but I do want to say in this movie, she's probably like, 25 or something? She has so much life ahead of her.
It's true.
You know.
It's true.
What is, not that we judge people this way, but she still looks great.
Of course she does.
She is 59 years old.
She was recently in an Ocean's movie, Ocean's 7 or...
Ocean's 8, right?
8.
Oh, I did see that in the theater. That's an okay movie.
Yeah, it was pretty decent.
Her and Kate Blanchett, though, that's a great pairing.
Okay, guys, artifact time.
Yeah, artifacts.
We had some options here. Justin, why don't you go first?
Oh, shit. Okay. I'm going to go with Sandra Bullock's big jacket. Big mid-90s jacket, right? Well, the dog agrees or disagrees. Hard to say. Yeah, I just because of the clothing, we've talked about it so much on this episode, like in the cozy factor.
That's true.
Let's go with that. Yeah.
Okay. Carolyn?
I'm going to take the handmade rocking chair.
Of course.
Yeah, that was going to be my pick as well.
Okay, well, then I'll take Peter Gallagher's eyebrows.
What's your recommendation?
The globe.
Well, that's a good one.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Parental globe.
Yes.
From the mom, given from dead mom to dad, she gave him the world.
Right.
And then he passed it on to her.
Right.
And
which she then found again with Jack.
Right. They saw the world together, presumably.
I hope so.
Until they divorced.
I hope Lucy and Bill,
while they were awake,
had a good, happy life.
I agree. Yeah.
I can't believe they did not make that sequel.
Yeah, actually.
There's still time.
Maybe they could. Hey, Hollywood.
Hey, Hollywood.
While we were
call
awake.
us up. Exactly. Yeah. While we were, it would have to be something more. While we were, sleeping, while we were dreaming, while we were parenting, while we were, because we could definitely check in with these people. They've got kids, like grown.
They've got grandkids.
Kids, yeah, exactly.
Maybe it could be like a grandkid who finds herself in the same situation.
And again, if this was the gender reversal, it would be while you were creeping. Thank you. We finally got there at the end of the show. We got there. Give me an hour and I'll come up with something good. I'm going to come up with a name for the sequel and I will give it to you next week on next week's episode.
All right. Justin.
Yes.
What are we up with for next week? I'm so excited about hearing what you're doing to us.
Excited. Well, listen, you guys, it's Oops All 90s, old movie time machine. What's the show called? Old Movie Time Machine. There we go.
Oops.
It's only been 60 plus episodes. Oops All 90s. Guys, we're going to go back to things that I've been talking about. This has been a great break. I think everybody needed it.
Right.
But we've been pussyfooting around the core issue of the 1990s. I've referenced it several times, but we haven't actually seen it proper. So we've seen before this happens, and we've seen after it happens. We got to talk about authenticity, integrity, street credibility, and the concept of selling out, which is a very 90s concept. Again, alternative culture, all this shit I've been kind of talking about. Let's get into the real deal here. Next week or next episode, whenever it airs, because it airs whenever the fuck we want it to. Next episode, we're talking about 1994's Reality Bites, starring my 90s girlfriend, Winona Ryder. That's right. It's going to be a Winona Wednesday, everybody. This is going to be a new feature.
I have never watched this movie. I have heard about it.
I can't wait to talk about it.
Is it going to bite?
There are so many layers of goodness and badness to this movie.
Okay.
But it really does kind of sum up the 90s experience as I understood it anyway.
Right.
Obviously, it changes shortly after while you were sleeping, really, in 96, 97. We're going to talk about it, though. Reality Bites, Winona Ryder, directed by Ben Stiller, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And featuring our buddy Steve Zahn. It's a Zahn-isode as well. He's in this. And second girlfriend of the 90s, Janine Garofalo, is in this movie as well. You will know her when you see her. Got a feeling. Anyway, that's next time on Old Movie Time Machine. Oops, all 90s. And until that time, please never forget. Also, hey, Shrishma Naik, great job hosting the show.
Thanks.
Great job to the matriarchy. Sorry for interrupting, as I am wont to do. I am of the patriarchy. Hey, but sister, Dr. Sister, Carolyn Naoroz, my sister and yours, also a great job. Just wanted to, I want to throw some light on all of you guys. Gals.
Right.
Women.
Right.
Not gals. Is that demeaning? Whatever.
Gals is cool. At least with you. I mean, maybe if someone else call me.
Can we acknowledge publicly, again, on air, that we have that kind of rapport where that is comfortable?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not offended.
Respect. Thank you. Until next time, you guys, please, or gals, women, whatever the fuck.
Mavens.
I love that. Oh, vixens? No.
Mavens.
On a good day, I'm a vixen.
Okay, great. Please never forget, all of you, all versions of you, that this has been Old Movie Time Machine. Oops, all 90s.